Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Write Your Path podcast, where we talk about how you really have the power to write your path forward, whether that's through healing, storytelling, business building. I like to talk about entrepreneurship, spirituality, badass business ladies. And I'm your host, Lolly Spindler. I'm a writer, editor, book doula, and writing coach. And today I want to talk about how to start noticing synchronicities and the magic that is already happening for you in your life. So, first, I just want to define what a synchronicity is. The term synchronicity was coined by psychologist Carl Jung to describe the simultaneous occurrence of an external event that aligns with an internal thought or feeling. I personally like to think of synchronicities as the universe winking at you. And this is basically magic happening in real time to show you that the universe is working in your favor. So, how can you start to notice and be more in tune with the synchronicities in your life? I believe first we need to start noticing how the universe is always working for us and aligning for us. Sometimes this can be hard to notice and hard to pay attention to if we're in a negative mental space, if we're stressed, if we're anxious, if we're depressed. But if we're able to start coming into an energetic space that's more based in gratitude and intention and following our intuition, we can start noticing how we are being nudged in the right direction at all times. So first, I just want to give you some examples of synchronicities in my own life that looking back, I'm like, wow, that was a very clear sign from the universe of where I was supposed to be or what I was supposed to do. So back in 2018, I had been in Mexico City for less than a year, and I was still deciding where I wanted to live full time. And I thought I was supposed to move back to Europe. I thought I was going to move to Amsterdam because there is this thing called the Dutch-American Friendship Treaty that makes it, I don't want to say easy, but easier than other European countries for US citizens to get working visas to then live and work in the Netherlands. So I was like, all right, that seems like the easiest route to run my business and live in Europe. So I'm going to go with Amsterdam. I already had some friends there. I had always had beautiful experiences there. So I went to Amsterdam. And when I got there, I was staying with my wonderful friend, Carlina. And I was just like, this isn't it. Like, this isn't an energetic match. I feel like I'm just trying to recreate everything I already have in Mexico City here. The community, the activities I was doing, just kind of like the life I had been leading in Mexico City. I was just trying to find that and recreate that in Amsterdam. And I'm like, why am I trying to do that when I could do a lot less work because it already exists somewhere else in the world? So I was like, okay, this is my sign then that I need to go back to Mexico City. I'm glad I now know. Like, I tried it, I came here, now I know it's not a fit. But, I'm already here. I'm going to do my 3-month Schengen visa, bop around Europe for a little bit. And then when I go back to Mexico City this time, it's going to be for good. Like, I'm going to actually start to put down roots there. So when I got back to Mexico City in the fall of 2018, when I got back from that trip to Amsterdam and Europe, I contacted Dina, my real estate agent, who is now my good friend. And we were looking at apartments. I finally found one, and it ended up being on Calle Amsterdam in Mexico City. So I was supposed to be in Amsterdam, just not the city. I was supposed to be on the street. So this was like, I was just like, wow, okay, universe, I see you. Like, this is a very clear sign. I was supposed to be here. And it also makes me think of the quote, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans, which is a spinoff of an old Yiddish proverb, we plan, God laughs. And I was like, okay, yes, I'm now laughing with you. I see what you did there. Also, looking back, I realized I was always very drawn to the Spanish language ever since I was young. And so in eighth grade, we had a chance to start taking Spanish classes. In high school, which is ninth grade up, for those who are in a different system other than the US, you have to kind of pick a foreign language. It's normally French or Spanish. There are some schools that offer German as well. But I knew since I was in middle school, I wanted to start. So I was like, hell yeah, if I can start in eighth grade, I want to start in eighth grade. So I started in eighth grade and I kept with it through high school. I was in the Spanish Honor Society. I was the president of the Spanish Club. I was in the Salsa Club, like all of the Spanish language related clubs I joined. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this is why I have been drawn to the Spanish language for so long, was because little did I know, but my forever home was in Mexico City. And so that's another way, like, the universe was kind of getting me on the right path before I really knew what was happening. And these don't have to be like, synchronicities don't have to be like these huge life events. Like, they can be little things too. For example, in college, I was introduced to this producer called Catacomb Kid. I have always really been into hip hop. My first job writing professionally was at undergroundhiphop.com. And a friend who lived in Seattle was like, I think you're going to love this guy, and gave me like a burnt CD of Catacomb Kid. And it was like very like hip hoppy electronic production and beats. And I was like, damn, like this kid is really good. And then he kind of disappeared. And I was like, damn, what happened to him? I really liked him. When Odessa came out, I became a very big fan of Odessa. I'm actually looking at a poster of Odessa from when they were here in Mexico City in 2023, and that hangs up in my house. And I realized years later, after like being a huge Odessa fan, did some research. Catacomb Kid is half of Odessa. I was like, oh my God. Well, I figured out what happened to him. And not only did I figure out what happened to him, I've been listening to him for the past however many years at that point. Another synchronicity that became very apparent recently was my partner and I had been talking about moving in together around Marchish when we got back from our India trip in February. And then it didn't really happen. So we're like, you know what? It's not the right time. Like, we're not in a rush. Like, it'll align when it will align. And so we decided, okay, next year, 2026 is when we're finally going to do that. Unbeknownst to me, based on our numerology, both of us in this year, 2025, we're in our year 9 of closing cycles. If you're not familiar with numerology, I'm not like a huge numerology person, but it is interesting to see how these little things align. Your 9 years when you're closing cycles. And your number 1 year is when you're planting seeds that will start growing and sprouting and flowering within the next 9 to 10 year cycle. So it was really interesting because he got his tarot card reading, and he was in his year 9 this past year, and then he was in his year 1 starting in September when he had his birthday. And then he's like, you should go to my tarot card reader. And I was like, sure, I've never done that. Why not? I'm all for trying new things. And so I went, and he's like, oh, you're like, he didn't remember Miguel, but he's like, oh, you're ending your year 9. And when your next birthday in December, you will be in your year 1. And I was like, how crazy is that we didn't even think about it. Didn't add up the numbers of our birthdays. That's how you do the numerology, is you add up your birthday with the current year that you're in. Didn't even realize we were both in our year 9s in 2025. And then in 2026, we're going to be planting our seeds for the next 8 to 10 years. And that's when we decided we were going to move in together. So it's kind of like this beautiful synchronicity as well. Completely unplanned and unbeknownst to us. Also, a small example, when I was recording an episode for this podcast, I kept procrastinating. I was like, I should really record that. I haven't done it yet, blah, 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 And then I finally recorded it after I read this beautiful passage in Braiding Sweetgrass. And so I was like, oh, that's why I had to wait to record it, because I hadn't read that passage yet. Also, just like when you meet people, sometimes you meet someone, you're energetically a match, and then you start to find out like you have all these things in common. Those are also synchronicities that have brought you together with this person at this exact moment for a reason. Um, so this is how the universe winks at you. And so you really just, once you start seeing it, it's kind of hard to stop seeing it, to be honest. You're just like, oh, another synchronicity. Oh, another synchronicity. Like once you get on that wavelength and start noticing these things, the gratitude practice that we've talked about before can really help with this. You really just start to see them everywhere. But not all of these winks will always feel good. And that is because sometimes synchronicities are waiting for you to get out of your own way before appearing. So, for example, when something shitty happens to you, as things do you see it as life kicking your ass? Or do you see it as the universe nudging you off the course you thought was for you in order to put you on the right path? So when you start to look back and see how you ended up exactly where you needed to be because of that shitty thing that happened, you might start to see that shitty thing differently. And you might start to see it as a synchronicity in disguise, even if it didn't feel good when it was happening. So I welcome you to do this exercise yourself. So looking back, how has the universe been working in your favor? I recommend you start with where you are right now in your life and then trace back how exactly you arrived here. So I'll give you an example, like for my personal relationship side of things. I was in a relationship during the pandemic. First of all, I want to preface this by saying I believe that relationships, whether friendships or romantic, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so my partner at that time and I were very much in each other's lives for a reason. We very much got each other through the pandemic with our mental health intact. And I'm still very, very grateful to my partner for being there for me during that crazy mind fuck of a time, right? And we're still good friends. We still talk. We still very much love each other. We just knew we were not the person for each other, right? And I was like, you know what? I think it's time. I want to give you back your time so that you can find your person, and also give me back my time so I can find my person. So we ended things very amicably. And it was interesting because during the last few months of our relationship, I very much was like, I know I have to do this really hard thing because I know there's something waiting for me on the other side. Like I can feel it. There's something there. But first, I have to go through this heartbreak. I have to detangle my life from this person. I have to, separate our households. I knew it was like, but I had to do this really hard thing in order to get to that really good thing that was calling me on the other side. And so I did that thing. And this is what happened. So my ex-partner had always told me, Lolly, you should really meditate. Lolly, you should really meditate. But like people tell you to do things and you're like, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. So it was only until after we had broken up that I started to actually meditate. And what's really funny is I always told him, you should really work out with me. You should really work out. And then sure enough, after we broke up, he started working out. So we always like laugh at each other that like we finally started doing the thing we kept telling each other to do after we finally ended the relationship. So I finally started meditating, but it wasn't intentional. What happened was I am on this app called FitPass, which is kind of like a class pass in the US. And so all the local yoga studios are on there. They post their classes. You sign up, you go. So Atma, which is now my Sangha, it's my home for my yogic community here in Mexico City. At the time, I was just going to like a couple classes a month. And I saw they were doing a yoga class. Let's say it was like a Friday afternoon, evening. So I signed up and I went and I rolled out my mat and I was stretching, getting ready for the class. And then Ramon, the meditation teacher, walks in and he goes, this is a meditation class. And I was like, God damn it. Like, I wanted to get a workout in today. Like, okay, whatever. I'll take this. I'll do this meditation class. I'm already here. So we do the class. And afterwards, I was like, damn, like, I really loved that. Like, that was really great for me. I feel wonderful. Um, and in wrapping up the class, Anna, who's the co-owner of the studio, came in with and was sitting with us and was like, just so you guys know, we're doing our first group of a 50-hour meditation group, and we have 2 spots left. And I was like, oh, okay, universe, I see you. You tricked me into coming to this class that was said it was a workout class. It was a yoga class that was not a yoga class. So that I took the meditation class, and then at the end, they're like, there's 2 spots left, and now I have to do this 50-hour cohort for meditation. And so I did. I signed up. And it was through that group, there was 12, 14 of us, that not only did I meet 2 of my best girlfriends here in Mexico City, but I met Miguel, my partner. And so through that, like, crazy synchronicity, I ended up meeting Miguel. I really became invested in the community at Atma. I did their New Year's retreat. I did my 200-hour yoga teacher training with them. And then we went to India. And when I came back from India, I had all these downloads. I started practicing bhakti, which is the yogic practice of devotion. We can talk more in depth about that in another episode. I started playing the harmonium and singing mantras, and now that's like a very big component of my personal yogic practice. And the Right to Heal, my 5-week group coaching program, was downloaded to me. So all of these things kind of happened in succession, and they're all very interconnected. And it's because I did that hard thing, because I knew there was something on the other side waiting for me. So really trust your intuition when this happens, because if you feel that pull, you're feeling it for a reason. Believe it. Don't second guess yourself, and just follow that feeling. And maybe you do have to go through a shitty time to get there. But let me tell you from the other side, it is worth it. So you may be thinking, well, duh lolly, hindsight is 2020. But the point is, when we start to see all the examples of alignment and the nudges to get us on the right path from our past, we have the evidence we need to realize that it's happening in our present and will continue to happen in the future. And this will make it easier to recognize those magic synchronicities when they're happening, and to keep seeing signs that the universe is working in our favor. And that when shitty things or unexpected things happen, we see it as, instead of, oh, like, God, life is so hard, it's terrible, it's kicking my ass, we see it as, all right, like, I was out of alignment somewhere, or I needed to be shoved onto the right path because something I was doing, a direction I was going, was not in alignment with where I'm supposed to be and where I'm supposed to go. So I really see synchronicities as kind of a reframe of, okay, how beautiful that the universe is always conspiring in my favor and trying to get me back on the right path so I get to where I'm supposed to be. So I really hope you're able to start recognizing these beautiful synchronicities that are literally happening right now in your life. And one way you can start to do that is to look backwards and see how things, beautiful things, but also really hard things, have allowed you to get to where you are right now. And maybe tap into your intuition to be like, you know, I've really been feeling I need to do this thing, because that's also the universe shoving you in the right direction. For example, like this podcast, I kept being called, like, well, you need to start recording your voice. You need to start sharing. You need to start putting yourself out there in this format. And I sat on it for so long, and I just like procrastinated, and I was like, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like, obviously, this is the universe telling me, girl, this is the direction you need to go in. So, like, I need to honor that and follow it. So, if there's been something like that for you that you've been putting on the back burner, I invite you in the new year to finally start planting those seeds and to see how they grow and bloom in the next generation. So, thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and I will see you on the next one.